Good evening, everyone. This is Think About It Thursday, and it's Henry Dotson here. We started a little late. We had little challenges that you have with technology. It's wonderful, but I'm glad that you made it. This is our weekly live stream where we talk about things that we've been discussing during the week. And so tonight, let me take my glasses off because it seems like you might want to see my eyes. That's probably works out better for you. Um, this week, the think about it um, topic is how do you deal with a person with cancer who's chosen a treatment plan that you don't agree with? Now, we've gone through the week and we've talked about things like listening more than giving your advice when it comes to having conversations with the person who has cancer, because it's really more about them talking through what they want to do. It's not so much there for you to give them advice. You're really there for them. And so what we said was that most of these kinds of conversations that they wind up being about 80% listening and only 20% talking. So this kind of goes along with that, in that at some point they're going to have to make some decisions about their treatment plan. And oftentimes they have options. They can go left or they can go right, and they have to make that decision. And you may have an opinion about that. You may think this is what I would do, or this is what I would recommend you to do, but you want to be very careful about that. You don't want to make any recommendations about things, especially if you're not the subject matter expert, if you're not a doctor, and it's really their decision to make. And so you'll find yourself in that situation often when you go to help a person that you know that has cancer. And so the question that we're really trying to think about tonight is, they've gone through this process in their heads and they've decided that they're going to take one path as opposed to another path. And you don't really agree with the decision that they made. You might have thought, well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Or maybe you think that they're just scared because they think that it might be too dangerous, or whatever their rationale in their head. You may think that that really they should be doing something else. Well, this is where you can get yourself into trouble. And so it's better to just keep your mouth shut. Do not try to say anything other than, you need to check this out with your doctor and ask them, have they gone through all the checks that they need to make sure that they are making a sound decision. But once that decision is made, then you have to go with it. You really need to just support them. And how do you do that when in your gut you just feel like, I wish they'd have made another choice? Well, that's why we leave things up to God, because He knows what He's doing. And if you're trusting and believing in God and you're praying for your friend, then maybe it's time for you to pray for yourself. Maybe it's time for you to say, Lord, show me how I can be a good friend in this situation. Use me as your vehicle to communicate to my friend whatever it is that you want spoken to them. And I just need to trust that you're really the one in charge and not me. That you have to kind of yield yourself and allow the will and the power of the Holy Spirit to take over. Because in reality, the Holy Spirit and all of that is already in charge anyway. So you have to go and try to find some peace in what decision your friend has made. And you need to be there for them. You need to stand and pray with them. You need to continue to encourage them. You need to let them know that you love them. All the things that we've talked about before, you have to continue doing those things, even though you don't feel it's right. Because oftentimes we've learned that what we think is not necessarily what God thinks. And so at that point, as I said, you need to be there to support your friend and you need to take it to the Lord and ask Him to deal with your heart and to deal with your emotions and to deal with all the things that you're dealing with, because we know that you're there looking out for their best interest, and you really want this to turn out well. You want it to turn out to where the outcome is great, that they get healed, that if all possible that they go into remission, or whatever the goal is of this treatment. You want that to happen. You want it to just be, you just want them to knock it out of the park. Well, the only way that you can do that is to be the best cheerleader that you can be. Do not try and sway them your way. And when they don't go the way that you want to, you need to put on a face that shows that you're supporting them 100%. So think about that. Think about the situations that you've been in, or if you're even right now trying to help a friend. Um, how can you really be there for them when your heart's not in it? Think about that, because if you're really a trusted friend, they're going to share with you the things that are on their hearts and their minds. And they may tell you that they're fearful. They may tell you a lot of things, but your response needs to be focused on the Lord and ask Him to give you the strength. So just think about those things when the time comes. Now, I'm going to change gears. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, only because this is a special Think About It Thursday. And that is because this is the last Thursday that we have before we have our celebration at City Club Los Angeles. So I want to take a little bit of time. I know it's not really what we're here to talk about. Usually it's about the think about it part, but I also want you to think about making an effort to be at our event. And so the event is going to take place on Tuesday, April 26th, from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're living in another time zone, you do the calculations. Unless you're living in Hawaii, and you're not in the Pacific time zone, then it's going to be a little later for you. But for those who are here on the West Coast, 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. We would we would just be great if you could show up for the event. Now, those of you who are actually in proximity, if you're in the greater Los Angeles area and you have time and you can get to downtown LA, I know it's a Tuesday night, but at 6:30, if you set your mind to it, you can probably get there in a reasonable amount of time. Because remember, everybody's trying to go home from downtown, so you're not going to face any real traffic of people trying to get to downtown. So you should be going against traffic if that's one of the things that you're worried about. And if it still doesn't work out for you, if you have other plans, or just logistically you just can't get there because of some prior event, and if you tried, you just miss it, then that's okay. We'd still love to see you virtually. Excuse me. Sorry, I got a cough there. But we would like to see you virtually. So this is going to be broadcast also on Zoom. So if you can't make it in person, particularly if you're out of town, but if you're in town and you just don't think you can get there on time to downtown LA, then we still want to see you on Zoom, because we believe that God wants you to hear the message that is we're going to be presenting. It's a celebration. We're saying it's the Dotson celebration over victory over the 3 C's, and that's cancer, COVID, and any crisis that you've experienced in the recent past. And we've been through some stuff. COVID alone, we've had the past 2 years of going through stuff. And with cancer, if you're a cancer patient, you know what it means to go through stuff. And if you're here now, then that in itself is a reason to celebrate. But it's not just to celebrate that you're here, it's also to celebrate that we get a chance to move forward. And before things get caught up in all the busyness of life that we usually run into, we get into our routines, we start doing things, and next thing you know, there's not enough time to to do the things that you'd like to do, but there seems to be busy enough to eat up all your day. Before we get back to all that hustle and bustle and worrying about the price of gas and the price of food and where the kids have to be and so on and so forth, we just want you to take the time to celebrate on Tuesday night with us, just a couple hours, to come out and celebrate that you're here, but also more importantly, the victory is not just because you have survived to now. The victory is coming with what you do from here on out. And so that's the part that we want to celebrate with you. That's the thing that we really are excited about. We're going to share our story because I think it's important for those of you who are not familiar with it to understand what we've come through, and that's part of the victory. But more importantly, we're through it, so now where do we go? So we'd love for you to come out. I think you're going to have a good time. The venue is wonderful. I mean, if you haven't seen any of our messages before, I think we're going to have one out that will give you a little glimpse of it. But it's on the top of a major skyscraper building in downtown Los Angeles. It's at the City National Bank building downtown LA, and it's the City Club itself sits on the 51st floor. So you can imagine the kind of views that you get, and that's what we want. It's a good ambiance. There's going to be great people there, and then you get a chance to see the club. It's got other venues and vistas that after we meet, you'll have a chance to look around that. So we just want to have a good time with you. So we want you to think about that. As you think about these things for Think About It Thursday, think about that too. Think about, how can I participate on Tuesday at the Dotson event? So if you can somehow figure out how to make it, then the very first thing that you need to do, if you haven't done it already, is you need to register. And you can see on the little ticker going down on below, I'm pointing down below, that it's giving you all the information that you need so that you can register, so that we can get a head count for you, whether it's in person or if it's going to be virtually with the Zoom session. We still need to get a head count. We need to register so we know what's going on. And City Club has asked us, particularly for those of you who are going to be there in person, that we give them a sense of the head count. So if you can, any way, shape, or form, make it, use that link below, either the virtual one or the in-person one, and invite a friend. Invite a lot of friends. I mean, we want this thing to be packed out because we think, we're just sure that God's going to do something in this celebration that will set you up for what's coming next in your life. Now that you have the victory over the three C's, in the fact that you're simply here. He didn't just bring you here just to have say that you had a victory over those three C's. He has set you up for what's coming next. And that's the part that we also want to celebrate. It's the kickoff to the next chapter, the next season, the next thing in your life. And we want to make sure that you get off on a good foot, and that the messages that are going to be given to you will inspire and encourage you, and you will be motivated to do the things that God knows that you're capable of doing. So think about it and take the time. Don't just kind of rush through it and say, yeah, okay, I thought about it, and I'm not going to really put much more thought into it. Really think about it. Think about why we're pushing so hard for you to be there. And that's because we really think there's something there for you. So if we're thinking about it this hard, we hope that you think about it just as hard. And hopefully you'll come to a decision that you're going to take the time to be involved, because being involved in anything is not necessarily convenient. But if you feel that tugging on you, that I just feel like I need to go, I'm curious, I want to see what's happening, then this is for you. And that's what we want, for you to be here for that. So I'm going to wrap it up. I know that this is not quite our normal Think About It Thursday, but it is a special one because there won't be another one until after the event. And so we're going to be changing what our focus is. Before, the focus has been on the do's and don'ts if you're trying to help a friend with cancer. And we've done that for all of the previous 8 weeks, it will be. And then we're going to, after this week, we're going to change what we're thinking about because there's a lot of things that we need to be focused on, and we want to be a part of helping you to reflect and think about those things and be encouraged about what's happening next. So this has been a special Think About It Thursday. I'm glad that you are here. I'm glad that you're thinking about showing up, and I am glad that you're thinking about how you're going to help your friend with cancer, even though they're not they have not chosen the treatment plan that you would have chosen. How do you still support them? Think about that, and remember, it's not about you, it's about them and how you can support them. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about if they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Like if the doctor has said you really need to eat more and they're deciding, well, I'm not going to eat. Well, that's not what we're talking about. That's just not doing what the doctor's asking you to do. We're talking about if the doctor says, well, we can go with plan A or we can go with plan B, you have to choose. That's the situation that we're talking about. And let's say that in your heart of hearts, you're thinking, oh, they should go with plan B. I just know that, I'm feeling that this is what they should do. And they come to you and tell you, we're going with plan A. That's what we want you to think about is how do I deal with this, even though I wanted them to pick something else. So take that time and think about that, but also think about coming out to see us because we really want to see you. We can't wait for you to get there and to get what God has for you. So, with that, I'm going to say good night and thank you for hanging around. We got a little rough start at the beginning, but we got it moving. So, all in God's time. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you at the event. And certainly, we'll see you at next Think About It Thursday. Take care. Bye bye.